Frogman Friday.
Yeah, boy.
Well, one thing that I do like, because I've watched this constantly with you, is a lot of people and their strength coaches or whatever, they come out with some idea of they have a standard, but they budge on their standard. You don't budge on your standard. Like, you've created a standard and that's what it is. And that's awesome, because it really does give, like in buds, I always had this idea of the standard was the standard. There's no budging on it. You have to make it in order to move forward. And I really dig that with your program, that you actually hold the standard and hold everybody that comes through to that standard. If you could break down some of your different programs, because I know you talk a lot about go to this program, go to this program. What are they? What do they do?
Right. So kind of step back for a second and say, okay, when you're dealing with the human body, right, because we are on Earth and we are governed by the laws of this planet, right? Physics is good, biomechanics are good, all those sort of things. We go, okay. When someone comes to our program, like I said, they've done the PST and they broadcast, they email us back and go, here's our numbers. And then we might engage in a few questions and have them do a few more things that give us more numbers, give us more data. And then we say, okay, okay, you're a great runner, but you have a capacity of failure at this point. And we go, well, you need stronger legs. And they go, okay, what do I need to run more? No, strength in your legs isn't developed in running. If that's the manifestation of it. We go, then the dialogue comes. And I'm just kind of giving you an example of a person that we commonly see. And we say, hey, you need stronger legs. You need to do hypertrophy. I go, well, what's hypertrophy? And I go, well, if you're reading in Latin, it's increased tissue or remold tissue, whatever you want to call it, hypertrophy. And they go, well, is that going to give me stronger legs? No, that's going to give you capacity to build strength. The next is strength, right? Because what I'm saying this is because we're all human. We all have to follow the same rules unless we have some very unique disease or we've had some catastrophic neurological injury or physical injury. There's some deviation for sure, like if you're an amputee and things, okay? But generally speaking, no one that's an amputee or severely diseased is going to make it into selection. They're not going to get in there. So we're just say, I'm trying to give you the scientific model here. Everyone that is healthy enough to practice and do the PST isn't going to run into these deficiencies. So we're all pretty much the same, okay? So doing the PST broadcasts a number when we say you need to go do X based on what we see, right? And what we're doing is we're teaching your body, we're teaching the human body to evolve and adapt in the manner in which it will. Like hypertrophy will always precede strength. Strength is always going to precede power. And so how does that look like in the sport world or in the PST world, right? When you think about hypertrophy, think about it as rope, right? Hypertrophy means increased tissue, right? Or increased tissue size. So think about, as you soak a rope in water, it gets bigger. Each fiber gets thicker, thicker, thicker. But in hypertrophy, along with that thickness, you get the ability, right? You got a thicker rope, you can create more tension. That's strength. So once you get a thicker rope, right, you can get a stronger rope. And then you go into ballistics, right? Like remember being ballistic things for Humvees, right? Now we can take that new big rope that is now strong because you put tension to it. Now we can make it ballistic and make it powerful. And then, you'll exhaust that at some point. Well, how do we get more powerful? Well, we got to get back, make the tissue bigger. Then we make the new tissue stronger. Then we make the new, stronger tissue more powerful. And that's where resiliency and injury resiliency comes, right? So we treat bud students, rangers, Air Force PJs like they are a decathlete. We need you to be well-rounded in everything. We need to be powerful, but we need to have endurance. We need to be strong, but we don't need you to power lift. We don't need you to, that's what we're looking at. It's like, let's make the best decathlete that we can. And that's kind of the thought process is everyone is in a different training paradigm, right? Everyone's in a different training spot based on their life experiences and their sport or whatever it may be. So the test helps us identify with them where in that training curriculum they fall. And we drop them in that training curriculum where we've decided, hey, this is what your numbers are saying. And then you see this vast improvement. And then we bring them back around and we put them in that periodized model. Given the right timeline that they're saying, hey, I've got a year to do this or 6 months or whatever it may be, 2 years, that's where the difficulty comes. If we have enough timeline, it's real easy. If someone's trying to condense their timeline, we go, you don't have enough time to do this probably, but here's your best option. And that's where we have to kind of meter what we can offer them based on the timeline they've created, which is why we say, don't go see a recruiter until you've established PST numbers that you're pretty satisfied with. Then you become, then training become optimized. And then you see, that's why our success rate is so much higher.
Very interesting. So you're focusing on anybody who wants to go into any of the specialty programs. Do you focus outside of that?
We do only within law enforcement and military. So like, that's kind of the rule, is if you are serving in this country in a capacity as an EMT, a firefighter, paramedic, police officer, SWAT officer, federal, local, state, that is in our demographic. Active duty military is our demographic. And then our next demographic that we really find a ton of joy in working with is the guys, the men and women that are, 6 months to 18 months out from going into service. That for me is it's like, it's a really amazing thing to offer these guys, men and women, the information. And then you see them like get to their PST numbers and they just destroy them. Like, you're just like, oh my God. Like we had some guys that just had numbers. You're like, that dude's like 6'4", doing this run at some crazy pace and doing, like, you're just like, oh my goodness. Like, we see this, people are so hungry for the knowledge, and they seek us out, man. It's like, it's really been cool the last couple of years, because at first you're like, why is nobody training? And now it's like, we've got a pretty full schedule in a good way. And man, like, the people that we get to train, like, truly humbling, lovely human beings. And they're a joy to be around, because we almost got to pull the reins back on them sometimes. And it's been a real pleasure, truly, to work with them.
What is the typical age range you work with?
I would say the average age that we're working with right now is about 22. Yeah, I won't train anyone younger than 18. That's a rule. And there's a few other rules that I'll stand by too, like that, because again, like, we have our own basic standard in which we feel like you can come and train, because we do intensive 6 weeks course where people live and stay, not at the house. They're in charge of their own accommodations and whatnot, but they'll stay here for 6 weeks. We train them 6 days a week. And when they get done with that 6-week training program, boy, they're darn near bulletproof, most of them, truly. Like, I would say 80% of our guys in that group will go on to do something within special forces in some capacity. I put my money on my guys for sure. You bet.
That's awesome. So 22 demographic, go through your 6-week program, then go to a recruiter and enlist into that special operations.
You bet.
Forever.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Go take over. It's like, what we found is like, like, there's like that lot of that real excitement. I want to go in on an urgency. It's like we help, like, that's where, part of our business essentially doesn't so much fall on me, but my business manager, who's really in charge of, like, not just the physical stuff, but the mind piece and the emotional piece, is getting these guys like, all right, you're enough. Like, we don't need to get you to 200 push-ups, that kind of stuff. It's like getting them to realize how efficient they are. And a lot of that's just like, that's outside my piece. It's like, we say, it's like, I'm the one that kind of builds them up, we'll call it, and she's the one that calms them down. And she's I say my business manager, she's also my better half, my girlfriend. And that's where I see, like, the greatest value of our business is, like, I got the easy part, man. I can come in there, we can assess these guys and see what's going on with them, and be like, but most of us, it's like, most of us are like, am I ready for this? Like, you like sniffing each other's butts and kind of figuring each other out. And like, how it is, like, until Hell Week, after Hell Week, everyone's like, okay, my people,
yes.
You remember that. And it's like, getting people in this team environment prior to buds is an anomaly. It's totally unique in the sense of, like, what we do, not what, so what Senior Chief Shipley did in our timeline. Amazing what he did in his capacity of learning. And there's other guys that do it too, but we look at purely at, hey, if people are going to stress over the PST, well, then we're going to stress over ways to make it less stressful. It's like, I always make ourselves akin to, if the sporting world, like the guy you go to see if you want to go to the NFL Combine is Pete Bomarito in South Florida. Like, his whole business model is the combine. He does an amazing job, and a few other people do too. It's like, I looked at that and we go, we can totally do this PST thing real well. And so we're just focused on that as best we can within those guys. And then the resiliency piece for the active duty, the firefighters, police, we have our own way too to do that. It's just not quite so, it doesn't have to be quite so objective. It can be far more subjective once you get into your community, because we believe it's like, got it, you know, train super hard to get here. You may not have enjoyed that, but you need to have a level of fitness. So it is a really good thing when it comes to sustainment to first, probably, if you can, pick the thing you enjoy the most, because you'll be most consistent at it. So I'm not saying everyone should be a world-class this or that. It's like, I find a real passion in it. And I'm a bit of an odd character, as Ryan has laid out, even in SQT. But that's, you know, like that's kind of the world I like to we like to turn our brains in, you know, and we enjoy it.